Recording in progress.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight. We're going to do some quick introductions and then we'll get going into this, but we're here tonight to talk about the Narberth Bridge Replacement Project. My name is Jesse Gormley. I was the project manager and lead structural engineer for the last 2.5 years of the project with Pinoni Associates. We were the prime engineer on the design contract.
Good evening. I'm Dan McCoubry, architect, president of VSBA Architects, and we've been the architectural designer for the project.
Good evening. I'm Ben Showers. I'm with Roadcon Construction. We're the little bit contractor for this. We'll be out here for a couple of years building this thing. So we'll see you guys and enjoy our time here.
Hey, good evening. My name is Mohammed. I am the Regional Construction Manager for TPD. TPD is going to be providing this construction management and inspection for this project. So we'll be out here with Ben and his team pretty much every day.
All right, we have a quick presentation we'll run through to touch on some of the design components just to make sure everyone's familiar. That'll be Dan and I, and we'll hand it off to Mo and Ben to go over some more of the construction schedule and other elements. Maggie, if you wouldn't mind progressing. Thank you. Okay, so we already introduced some of the project team. I just wanted to acknowledge some of the other folks on the design team. In addition to Pinoni and VSBA, there was also Jacob's engineering group who performed railway engineering for us. And I wanted to acknowledge Dalwood who did geotechnical engineering for us. Let's see if this works. That's the wrong direction. Here we go. Okay. In addition, I wanted to acknowledge all the project stakeholders on this. So Narberth Borough, the bridge owner, the residents here. The borough will be responsible for future maintenance of the bridge and is really the driver behind the project. So thank you all. Great client. PennDOT, of course, assisted with contract administration on this. They also provided design review and approval throughout, and they had project oversight. Federal Highway Administration also had some project oversight. They will be providing construction funding on the project, so we thank all of them. A couple other entities that we need to acknowledge, Amtrak and SEPTA, both very involved in the project. Amtrak is the owner and operator of the 4 tracks that pass beneath the bridge. SEPTA also operates on those tracks, had extensive coordination, especially over the last 2 years of the project with both entities. And we also want to acknowledge the utility companies involved on the project. I have 4 listed here. They were the big ones for us: Pico Electric, Pico Gas, Comcast, and Verizon. The most impacted, although there were others, and we appreciate their assistance throughout as well. Maybe. I was trying. We may have to go manual again. It wouldn't be a good meeting without a technical issue. Great, okay. So I wanted to touch on the history, the goals, and some challenges with this project, just to make everyone aware. In terms of history, the existing bridge that you have out there right now was built circa 1947. It was actually a replacement of an even older bridge in the same location. Since 1947, there were some repairs and modifications made to it, including the sidewalks that are on the exterior of the bridge actually were added subsequent to the original construction. I'm sure you're all well aware, in 2019, the bridge was closed indefinitely to vehicular traffic, kept open to pedestrian traffic. It had been closed temporarily in the past prior to that, but due to the condition, we felt it was safest to keep it closed since 2019. In terms of goals for the project, they morphed a little bit over the lifetime of the project, but the big ones right now are to restore that vehicular connection between the 2 sides of the borough. We also want to maintain that pedestrian access throughout the duration of the project. Finally, we wanted to enhance the aesthetics of the bridge, tie it into the borough, make sure that we took the beautiful context that we're in into account here. In terms of challenges for the project, I wanted to acknowledge the challenges with a constricted suburban site. There are residences and businesses at 3 of the 4 corners. There's an intersecting roadway in Elmwood Avenue at the 4th corner just off structure. Obviously, Amtrak runs underneath. That by itself added many challenges that were overcome slowly. There are also the utilities to take into account, aerial currently, and with 3 of them subsequently being added now onto the structure to be carried. All things that had to be considered in the design. And I mentioned before that one of the goals was to maintain that pedestrian traffic throughout. That also becomes a challenge because anytime you're trying to move people safely through an active construction site, it's going to limit the activities and times that certain construction activities can take place. That photo is from 2012 when the bridge was temporarily closed and some students decorated it. We thought the turning the little ugly bridge into a beautiful bridge was a good message for today. It's okay. In terms of a project overview, again, you're going to hear more detail on this, but the elements that needed to be designed out were some railroad work. This is primarily going to be 2 new catenary portals, we call them, but they're the structures you see in the top right up there. One needs to go on either side of the bridge to help pass the catenary safely under the proposed structure. This will happen in advance of most of the bridge work. There is utility relocations. I mentioned our big 4 players there. They have utilities on either side of the bridge that need to be relocated. Primarily to get the area utilities that currently pass over the bridge out of the way. And 3 of them will be on the proposed bridge. There is the bridge replacement itself. We'll show some more photos of that in just a second to talk through it. And then roadway work along Narberth Avenue and Elmwood Avenue, along the sidewalk work to tie into the proposed bridge. The proposed bridge is actually being raised a little bit over its current position to try to provide more clearance for Amtrak underneath. And last but not least, architectural work. I'm going to leave all of that to Dan. Some more time. Okay, this is a schematic view of the site. Let me try to get this. Okay, what we've got is Amtrak tracks running up and down on the page, Narberth Avenue running left to right, Elmwood Avenue also going up and down. And walk with me a little bit here if you can advance one time. Coming in blue, and it's a little hard to see, these are the proposed catenary portals that I mentioned. They'll be on either side of the bridge. One more time. See a yellow shape come in. This is the overall footprint of the project. And you can see it does extend up Elmwood a little ways and extend north and south on Narberth Avenue. Beyond the bridge, which if you click one last time, coming in red, that is the footprint for the actual superstructure, which for us will be the beams and the deck itself. A little over 70 feet long, a little over 43 feet wide. You can click one more time, we'll show you the section through the bridge. You can see there are 2 lanes again, similar to the existing bridge, nice wide sidewalks on each side, and several other elements that I'm going to hand it off to Dan now to talk about.
Thank you, Jesse. This is a plan of the bridge, and there are several challenges in the design, not the least of which is the approaches are all, they are not aligned with bridge, and the bridge goes up, so there are multiple slopes and curves to deal with. And that actually created the opportunity for this designing plan where there's a series of piers that alternate with fence, and those piers, at each pier there's a transition and it segments the wing walls that you see. And so they can both step down and step around the curves. The central portion is fairly symmetrical, and then each wing wall is very carefully adapted to the particular conditions. I think this slide doesn't show it, but you all know that this bridge is kind of the gateway between the residential community on one side of the tracks and immediately into the major intersection of Hammerford Avenue and Narberth Avenue, kind of the center of Narberth. So let's go to the next one, please. The bridge has sort of 2 identities. On the inside, as you see on the upper slide, is what you would experience as you walked or drove across the bridge. And it borrows from the kind of the materials of we'll call it the downtown, the masonry, red brick, and limestone, actually in this case, cast stone, and metal elements. And here you can begin to see the arch of the bridge and the way the stepping piers work. At either end of the main span are two lanterns, or actually the lanterns at each of the four corners. Below is the outside of the bridge, which is concrete and is seen from quite a distance from the Narberth platform. It has some articulations, which are a little hard to read here. I call it a kind of a plaid that gives some reveals and decorative quality to the concrete. But the idea here is keep it concrete, low maintenance, and not that visible. Here's a perspective view of the bridge itself, and at the bottom you can see this decorative frieze which would occur on both sides of the bridge. And we worked with members of the community and others for quite a while coming up with the design, but it is actually a series of trees that form, and the word Narberth, that are very regular. The trees referring back to elm, which was the name of the town originally, and also the quality of the canopy that exists in the borough. And then smaller, where you can't see, but as a pedestrian you'll be able to notice there's a little kind of a frieze that starts with the original primal forest and shows kind of the evolution of the landscape from primal forest to home of indigenous Lenape, to the farms, and then to the town itself.
That would hand it over to Mo to go over some construction schedule.
All right, let's see if this will work this time. That's right. We'll just keep going. All right, so we're going to talk about the construction schedule here. Next slide. All right, so first I wanted to introduce the TPD team. Again, my name is Mohammed Gowrie, everybody calls me Mo. I'm going to be the construction manager on the project. Joel Wolfinger will be the inspector in charge. He and our inspection team will be on site every day to answer any questions. If you're walking by, riding by, happy to say hi and answer any questions you have. Next slide. And then
I'm Ben Showers, project manager. I'll be on site with our on-site foreman when he is selected or determined he can get here and we can start construction on this. Sean McKenna, vice president, is here, and Derek Harper's our general superintendent. He is not here, but he sits above me and handles a lot of the logistics with our company, manpower, equipment, and getting things done.
All right, so let's go over the project by the numbers. First off, the project went out to bid, and the bid date was, bids were open on May 8th. Roadcon was selected as the low bidder. That's how PennDOT selects their contractors. The bid amount of $13,316,880.86. By the time we went through the award process and we had a pre-construction meeting, notice of receipt was given on July 18th. And we have the required completion date of July 24, 2029. So far in the past couple of months, we've been coordinating with the utilities and the railroad to get the project started and get underway here shortly. Next slide. So, looking at the timeline, it seems like 4 years is a long time, but really it's going to be less than that by the time they mobilize on site next month, get the detour set up, start surveying and things like that to get this project open to the public for use. So we're going to kind of go through the timeline here and explain exactly what the construction schedule looks like. So first off is going to be setting up the detour, which most of you are already accustomed to. So starting in a couple of weeks here, RoadCon will be out installing the detour signs going up north on Narberth Avenue to Haverford, down Montgomery, to Winding Way, Bowman, and then back up Narberth to get the other side for vehicular traffic. But like we mentioned before, pedestrian access will be maintained throughout the life of the project, which was considered in the design and how the construction was staged. So after the detour is set up, RoadCon will be mobilizing. They'll be installing some temporary fence, which is what these orange lines are. The light green lines is just the erosion control that is required to maintain runoff. And they'll also be clearing some of the trees to allow for the utilities to remove their aerial lines off the poles and relocate them. And also doing some of the survey. The red is just kind of the limits of disturbance. That's kind of as far as we can go with our construction. Next slide. They'll also be installing some temporary ADA ramps at the intersection to maintain the traffic on the bridge. And you'll see that this here is the first stage in yellow that they'll be constructing in 2027. This is the temporary barrier that they'll have out on the bridge. And these arrows here are indicative of the access on the bridge that's going to be maintained for that first stage. Next slide. And again, here's just kind of a blown up version of it. So you'll see that stage 1 is this hashed area. We have the 5-foot wide minimum stage pedestrian route on the bridge. And then this area here in the dark gray is going to be the first stage of construction with the 2 steel girders. Next slide. So a big part of the construction is coordinating with the utilities. We're coordinating with Pico Electric, Comcast, Verizon, and then Pico has a main that is going to be disconnected and capped to allow for the bridge to be replaced. So that's going to be the first step in the process, is getting all the utilities off of the old poles, installing the new poles, and getting everything rerouted so we maintain service to the residents and the businesses. So the red lines here are the electric, the green is the sanitary, and the yellow is the gas line, and you can see the orange, that's the communication lines for Comcast and Verizon. As you can see, they're going to be installing. There's going to be 6 new utility poles, some underground electric. There's going to be a Pico manhole that's being abandoned, cutting and capping the gas line, as I mentioned, relocating the fiber for Comcast and Verizon. Next slide. So that's going into the rest of this year. Starting in 2026, we'll be wrapping up some of the utility preliminary work and getting right into the Amtrak catenary relocation. So RoadCon is going to be constructing the foundation, and then Amtrak will be erecting the new catenary structure on both sides of the bridge, relocating their catenary wires, and then removing the existing catenary off of the old bridge. Once that's done, RoadCon will be able to then begin demolishing the existing portion of the structure for stage 1, which will be done at night, so just to give you a heads up on that, that's the safest way to do it. It should only be for night, and then from there, installing the temporary excavation and support, and begin constructing the actual footings, abutments, and wing walls. 2027, then continue with backfill, and we'll be pouring that first stage of the bridge deck and the temporary pedestrian barrier, and backfilling the approaches. Pico will then run their new conduits underneath the new bridge in stage 1. There's 3 conduits that they'll have. And at that point, we'll be able to switch the pedestrian access from the old bridge onto the new bridge. That's the next slide. So you saw before in the previous slide that we were on this side of the bridge. Now we are going to be on the left side on the new portion of the structure. There's the 3 electric conduits there going through the bridge that Pico will be relocating the cables to. And then this is the remainder of the structure that RoadCon will be demolishing in stage 2. Next slide. And you can go to the next one. So 2028, now we're focusing on the remaining structure. We're going to demolish the rest of the bridge, installing the temporary excavation support, and then installing the remaining portions of the footings, the abutments, and the wing walls, pouring the bridge deck, backfilling the approaches, and installing the temporary ADA ramps at Elmwood and Narberth Avenue. Comcast has 2 4-inch conduits that will go up through the girders, so that'll be part of that work in 2028, and EcoGas will have new gas mains attached to the outside of the bridge, and then they'll be tied back into the existing main on both sides. From there, we were able to go and start on Stage 3, which is going to be the new sidewalk on the bridge and the concrete barrier. So kind of looking at what the previous slide that Jesse had on the design slides, this will be basically kind of where we're going to be at in Stage 3. The pedestrian access will be then shifted from the left side of the bridge to the center. So we'll be working on the outside faces, doing the curb and these barriers, and getting right into the architectural treatment. At this point, we're in the final stage of the utility relocation. Now that the structure has been built, all the utilities can go into their final place, do their final aerials, and install on their street lights and luminaires. And then 2029, that's where the bridge starts getting a little bit pretty, right? So all the cast stone, the pier lighting, the picket fence, the protected barrier fence, the handrail, the power supply, that's going to be the bulk of 2029. Amtrak has to come in and ground and bond to the existing structure and the utilities. We'll be then installing the curb and sidewalk at the intersection of Narberth Avenue and Elmwood, and then begin paving the approaches, do final striping, signing, and topsoil and seed, and getting ready then to open the bridge to being fully used. So that's kind of the schedule. Again, keeping in mind that we want to maintain pedestrian access. We know that the train station is right there, and making sure that everybody's able to continue to traverse the bridge in a safe manner. So with that, we'll open up to questions.
Yeah, so we'll take questions from the in-person audience first before moving on to the Zoom. So we'll start. I say we can start right in the front row, and we'll just go row by row all the way back, and then we'll go back to front on the left side here.
This is actually the second bridge construction that I've lived through. I lived through the Bowman Avenue Bridge. And I know the Bowman Avenue Bridge has a barrier between the street and where people walk. It's about this high. And then we advocated for like a metal thing so kids wouldn't walk on the barrier. Is there going to be a barrier between the curb and where people walk? Because there's the vision. The visual is very poor going over the bridge, so I'm worried about kids walking over those bridges.
The short answer is there will not be. That hadn't been considered in the design, but it's actually found to be a less safe condition, ultimately, because of the short runouts that you get on the barrier with Elmwood Avenue right there and feeding right into the borough. There was no way to make it work within standard real well. Fortunately, the sidewalks that we're providing here I don't remember the exact measurement, they're carrying 8 feet. They're substantially wider than you get in a lot of other places, so we hope that the field is still very safe crossing over it. And Narberth Avenue as a whole has a fairly low speed limit, my understanding. I think, again, it's 25 design speed. Not everybody follows that uniformly, but I understand, I think there was a fairly low incident rate prior to the bridge being closed.
Hi. I heard a couple of words that concern me. One was demolition and night. I live right there at that corner. I want to know what you have in mind for that.
So Amtrak railroads limit our work over their tracks to when there's no trains running, which usually is from 12 a.m. to roughly 4 a.m. That'll occur first operations where we impact the railroad. Demolition of the existing structure is one of those that occurs at night, at least the superstructure portion of it. And then the resetting of the new structure steel beams will occur at night because they have to turn power outs and trains can't run, et cetera, to keep pedestrians safe. Other work will occur at night, there'll be some tree clearing at night because anything that could fall potentially on railroad tracks or foul a train has to occur when there's no trains running.
So what period of time are we talking about overall that would be nighttime stuff?
You would be a couple weeks at a shot and a couple times a year. It's not going to be 100% night, 100% all. It's going to be a couple weeks, a couple times a year to do a lot of that. And we can update you a little more detail as we progress as to when that's going to be, and we'll keep Maggie informed of those as well. We're required to give her some notifications so she can let the residents know.
Okay, I think I can live with that, but I'll hold you to it.
I've been held the worst.
Hi there, Dan Edwards from Shirley Circle, the other side. But quick question for you. I'm seeing a lot of like stone and brick masonry, demolition. So I'm assuming you're going to have a lot of like heavy equipment and a lot of stuff that you're going to use to make a bit of bridge. Where do you plan on storing all that? And are there times where you'll have more or less? Can you speak to that?
Well, we would really love to store it in that nice lot on the west side of railroad tracks, but I believe that might not be available. Anything stored will be either off-site or immediately on-site on those side roads that's part of that detour area. Less likely on the town side, more on the, call it the residential side. We'll limit our staging as much as possible, but we have to get things there to build it.
Can you speak to what types of machinery we can expect? Because there's going to be a lot of big machinery on that. Heavy machinery.
Large excavators to dig both sides, a drill to drill post and lag temporary excavation support, and some cranes to set beams. They're pretty good sized machines. Hey, I encourage you to come out and watch if you get an opportunity to. You might have to come out at night though to see some of the cool machines work.
Hi, Maureen King. Curious to know about the width of the roadway and what we're envisioning as far as traffic in both directions and whether or not this is going to be shared with bicycles, dedicated bike paths, etc.
That's for the finished riding surfaces. I'll let you guys take that one.
Yeah, it's primarily a restoration of the existing condition. I think it might be 2 12-foot lanes right now, so the one is increased to 13 feet. It's just to make the geometry work. Again, I think any sort of shared road situation.
Use lines back and show that new section. We'll learn this piece. One more. There you go.
Well, this is the stage, but
Yeah, there obviously won't be 2 barriers in the middle of the road to finish condition.
it'll be a 12-foot lane and a 13-foot. 25.
Yep. So similar to what had been existing prior to the closure.
Just adding on to the equipment and stuff like that. For the businesses that are on the north side, what kind of limitation are we going to have in terms of like clients coming to our offices, accessing the businesses, stuff like that?
You should have the contract requires us to maintain access for those people. I don't believe there's parking anywhere on that street, or if there's
There's
it's
one on
limited.
one side, yeah.
So there was a slide a few back that showed our limits of disturbance. We usually don't impact those, and we have to maintain access to the apartments on the one side, the town on the north side. I mean, I can't say it's going to be perfectly clear, but you'll have access to your front door.
Great.
Safe access to your front door.
Hi, good evening. My name is Anne. I recognize that this is a huge project involving a lot of constituencies, and I just want to thank you for your work. This is a great presentation. Now I'm going to out myself. I'm the first house next to the bridge. Would you like to live in my house for the next 4 years? I don't think it's funny. I'm sorry, I don't take this. This isn't funny.
Which?
So you come, I'm sorry.
Which
Sorry,
floor?
it's been a long day. Sorry. So you come over the bridge from Haverford Avenue.
Okay.
There's the lot you mentioned where
Yes.
you ideally like to have the staging.
Sure.
I'm right there.
Are you
I
just
mean-
off the lot? Or right next to the lot, okay?
My house is about from my side door to the bridge, it's maybe 20 yards,
Okay,
maybe 25 yards.
okay.
So, like the other person who spoke, I saw the words up there, nighttime work, and that alarmed me a bit. So that's one concern. I have a couple of other questions. One is pollutant mitigation, like when this stuff comes down, are there special steps, environmental steps you take to mitigate the dust and things like that for medical concerns? That's one question. I know that came up when the demolition of the church happened. And two, I'd be really interested to know, and I'm sure this is a work in progress, what will the plan be to communicate from the borough with the residents? I'm thinking about the community and how that communication will look. And I'm eager to hear more over the course of time about the night work. You said a couple of things. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, I guess. Were you looking for a response, Andrew?
Oh.
Are you? So.
Perhaps, I'm so sorry, I put a lot out there and I didn't expect you to respond right now.
So communication, we communicate with the CM and Maggie, and the borough directly. It doesn't have to be Maggie, but the borough directly, and we generally give you guys as much notice as we know. So she can communicate to you nighttime work, changing phases, changing traffic plans. All of the above should be coming through the CMCI to the borough.
I guess that's more my question is like what will the stream of communication from the borough look like immediately to the neighborhood? And you might not know that right now, I recognize that. Oh, awesome.
So, if you've been on our website recently, we just launched a brand new website, so here it is.
Yes.
We did intentionally have this, so over here on the right-hand side, this is gonna live here for the next 4 years. So when you go to the main website, that will be up, ready, right there for you. You can click on this, and any updates that we're receiving, any communications, any night work, we're gonna try to be as transparent as we possibly can, just to indicate kind of what's happening and what to expect. We're coming up with some fun ideas with our communications team, as in Kelsey, in my office. So she's a wonderkind, and so she's been doing all of the communications in the social media. So this is going to be posted on our Instagram, it's going to be posted on our Facebook, it's going to be posted on our website. We can have updates at council meetings, so there will be a lot of information. I highly encourage everybody, if you haven't already, to follow us on social media and to sign up for our weekly newsletters. So we send those out every single Friday at 4 o'clock. We will be including the updates as well in the newsletters. And I know that folks take that information and repost it on some of the community groups on Facebook, so it should be distributed pretty widely. But this is where you're going to want to go, and this will be populated with all of our updates as we go. So there's not too much on here now, but after this evening, we're going to take this presentation, we're going to take the recording, it's going to live here, and it's going to be fully archived, so you'll be able to see anything at any point during the construction phases. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I just want to voice one of my concerns with this bridge project, which is the cars going the wrong way up Haverford right now with it.
Saying the wrong way up Haverford?
Yeah,
As in coming over the bridge and then getting to Narberth and turning.
going the wrong way toward the light.
So the detour information. So the detour will route, actually, no, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. You want to go, I think it's slide 3 or 4.
Could get past the mic up here. Thanks for your patience.
We'll just go back to the detour plan real quick. Yep, right there. So, right now, starting in a couple of weeks,
On the north side here, traffic will be detoured through Haverford, down to Montgomery, and then left onto Wyoming Way, which becomes Bowman, and then back up to Narberth. And then to get directly to the train station, you're just gonna turn back here on Woodside to get to the train station. So the signs will be clearly marked and posted, and we'll be checking them every day to make sure that there's no down signs and that there's no issues. It's part of our responsibility on the property to make sure that the signs are maintained. Any issues, we let Roadcon know right away.
Alright.
Yeah, but I guess how is that different from now?
It's really not. I mean, it's just officially having the signs out. This is something I think that most people are accustomed to.
And ways now from there to the.
Right.
No, not in the business area, it's one ways. Down toward here, but we're going,
Yeah, and that's not proposed to change. We're not changing the direction of Haverford
but
Avenue.
they're coming up the wrong way.
That's not a bridge concern, we can talk afterwards.
One of my neighbors asked about the construction noise in the middle of the night. I'm a little concerned about the train noises in the middle of the night. Have you had a discussion with Amtrak and SEPTA about blowing their horns between 12 and 4 a.m.? I'm a South Side neighbor, and it's actually an issue. Are they going to be constantly alerting?
We don't
construction
we
people?
don't often interrupt aircraft. So if they're blowing horns in the middle of the night, I mean, I can certainly ask them to stop, but I imagine they're not going to. But between 12 and 4, if there's no trains running, like during our work zone,
Yeah,
they won't have trains through there because the power will be out.
they're often ferrying stuff up to the oil and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
You might want to be cognizant of that.
Okay.
So you said that the bridge is going to be a higher elevation. How much higher than the current?
I believe it only amounted to about a 6-inch increase.
Well, I mean, it's the approaches are a little steep on both sides, and I wonder how you're going to regrade that. I mean, are you going to make any gradual grades on both sides of the bridge to accommodate that, especially that turn onto Elmwood Avenue, which is always kind of treacherous currently?
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was something we had to be very cognizant of in the design. We noted the Elmwood intersection needing to potentially regrade that. We also had challenges on the north side, being sure because there are doorways there right off the sidewalk that we couldn't impact. People need to be able to open their doors. We were able to make it work. To be totally frank, we got a design exception from Amtrak to actually be substandard on the vertical clearance of this bridge. It's an improvement over what is out there currently, but it doesn't come up to their full standard.
Well, respectfully, I'm more concerned about me and my neighbors.
Absolutely, not a problem. I guess take that as Amtrak realizes the difficulty it poses too, and was appreciative. A little bit of game. We brought it up as much as we thought we comfortably could to still have everything tie in while recognizing the steep grades, particularly on the south side.
So did you accomplish like an easement on that Elmwood corner to allow you to make a more gradual turn?
Yes.
For instance?
Yes, and we also, as part of the design, incorporated handrails on the south side of the bridge also, so people will have a point there to view it.
I just, that whole curve has been regraded at Elmwood where it connects to the bridge.
Okay. So, well, the 16-inch, I think you said.
6 inch.
Oh, 6 inch.
6 inch.
Sorry, my mistake.
No problem.
Yeah, even on the north side, the grading could become an issue. You sort of bump up onto the bridge as it is. Just saying. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Steve Levy. I've walked over that bridge every day for the last 32 years. I've been on it twice. When someone has hit the steel because they were old and unable to drive, and I'm very unhappy about the fact that there's no barrier between pedestrians and traffic, particularly because it's so steep and it's curved. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a curved bridge has failed because of rust because wintertime salt application, that is the steepest part of the borough, they throw salt everywhere, lots of it. What's your drainage plan? What's your plan on waterproofing the deck? What are you gonna do with all the water? That's, are we gonna be here again in another 50 years? I mean, 47, come on. Seriously. Also, I sort of was wondering about what the plan was for the actual illumination of the roadway itself. Are there going to be lights down low, or is it going to be light up high? And my last, but I have two more questions. Is this going to enable double height container traffic on this rail line? Because they can't do double height now. Is this bridge going up going to be the limiting factor on getting more freight trains through here in the middle of the night with double stack, or don't you know?
I would imagine not.
Oh, okay.
But I do not know for certain.
All right. Okay. That's pretty much my questions. All right. Any questions from you guys about my concerns? I mean, I'm really concerned about the rust issue. And I didn't hear anybody talking about where the water's going, what's going to happen with this rust, with all those I-beams. Are they going to be galvanized? What's the deal?
That we can actually answer. The existing bridge right now is at a disadvantage because it's got those through girders, which for vehicular traffic is no longer considered to be a safe design because vehicles can impact it from above the driving surface.
Right.
We will not have that. All of our beams, the primary superstructure will be below deck.
All right.
And those barriers will be designed to take an impact from a vehicle, should that be necessary.
All right.
Hopefully not.
But what about all the salt water and everything that's coming off of the bridge?
Ultimately, that maintenance responsibility will be the boroughs.
Okay.
I think like PennDOT recommends annual deck washing. That's something we can talk about and make sure there's a maintenance plan.
Something remembered my last question. How heavy of traffic are we allowed for this bridge? Because, the allowable tonnage kept dropping over the last several decades. What's it going to go up to now?
That was a result of the condition of the bridge. This bridge will not be load posted. So there will be no defined limit, but the vehicles that drive over it have to be able to get to it. And keep in mind low-hanging utilities and things through this area.
So there's going to be no dangle chain to keep a gigantic anybody off of this. It's just going to be whatever. Whoever can drive there can drive there.
Yes.
As heavy as they want to be.
There's a permit issue too with some of that stuff.
Right.
Their permits would require something, or may flag this as well for overhead clearances on either end.
All right. Thank you.
Good.
Do you want to address this question?
Oh yes, regarding lighting, it should note there is no designated highway lighting being incorporated into the bridge. There are existing street lights that will be restored after the fact, but the lighting that's on there, Dan, speak more to it if you want to hear details, but it is architectural lighting.
Yeah, it is not roadway lighting, but it lights the sidewalk and at the metal along the top, within the top rail of the metal fencing you see there are LED lights concealed that will light down, wash the relief and light the sidewalk.
All right, 2 points. Number one, you talked about the amount of heavy equipment you'll have, but you'll have employees, I'm assuming, driving their personal vehicles to work. Do you have any idea how many people are going to be driving? How many cars, trucks, pickup trucks, whatever are going to be there? And where are you going to put them?
On average, there's 6, and we'll probably stack them up with them beneath or laying down in.
Okay, so within the work zone?
Hopefully, yeah, for the most part, yes. We won't block anyone's residential or residential park.
Okay, second point, just to address the previous speaker's concerns about freight trains. I used to work for Conrail. We did a lot to get the freight trains off of Amtrak. Amtrak wasn't happy with them and we were happy to get them off. So I think it's very doubtful that you'll see freight trains there again. But definitely talk to Amtrak.
Sure.
and verify that. Okay, thanks.
Do you know what the clearance is for a double height?
20 feet and something, I forget the exact number.
20 feet, something we can work with it.
Yeah, but unlikely.
Right, any other questions?
Just a quick one, guys. Hey, first of all, thanks so much for coming up to talk to us. We really appreciate it. A lot of us have been kind of clamoring for this information, so it's really great. Also, the bridge sketches, awesome. It's going to be beautiful. But a question for you on the stage 3 diagram that you had for the cross section. It looked like maybe the gas main out to the far right was going to be on the outside of it. Is that how that will look? It'll be a big pipe going across the side.
Yeah, but it's
It will be connected to the exterior. We will paint it. We will do our best to mask it. But because of the curvature of the bridge, that became the only safe place to house the gas main.
It looks like the rest of the utilities are in between the beams, all right?
Yes, that is correct. They use different piping materials. We were able to feed those at the steep camber that we have on the bridge.
Awesome. And then also to the other gentleman's question, what's the typical lifespan for a bridge like this? Is it, I guess it depends on how you take care of it, like you said, but what could we expect from it?
AASHTO standard says 100-year life is designed at 10 now.
Could you speak to that louder?
Yeah, sorry.
We were just conferring before we decided to tell you all.
AASHTO, which is the guiding standard, independent requirements ask us to pursue a 100-year design life for our chargers now.
So there will be long gone before.
They do require maintenance though. PennDOT's guilty of it. A lot of people are guilty of lack of maintenance. So maintenance in general, it is steel, it's weathering steel, which means it rusts on purpose, just heads up on that. It's supposed to do that, it's a protective layer. And the ends get painted so it doesn't drip down and look and ruin the architectural stuff. So they try to do their best, both PennDOT design team, to maximize the lifespan with minimal maintenance, like that. But maintenance is important, as you see and then on the news, deteriorating structures across the Commonwealth. So.
Yeah, awesome, and really appreciate that. And last comment on that one, there was a picture with kind of like the orange, like on the inside of the bridge. One thing I wanted to point out that was really a great design idea was that basically at the ends of the Narberth sign, you had like a fence there so the kids can still see the trains come and go. Yeah, see between the light and the tall wall.
Yes.
My kids used to love looking at the trains go by, and so I'm glad you guys came. Thanks again.
One of our constituents asked the question, I don't think I heard an answer about, they were concerned about the environmental dust and mitigation efforts on the construction dust for money. Can you just address that?
Yes, so we're required to do some dust control measures, whether it's moisture, water, excavations, or basically dust control. We are responsible for some of that, so yeah, let us know if you see something. I mean, you live right there, or some extenuating circumstances, because we don't catch everything. We do our best to keep dust down. That's one of our safety requirements as a company too.
I was wondering if you could just speak to the pedestrian access in a little bit more detail as to whether it also provides for, if it's accessible to wheelchairs, scooters, and bicycles.
Yeah, so the pathway is 5 feet wide, so it should have, I believe that's wide enough to let 2 wheelchairs pass. It's not for ADA compliant for the width, but if you feel safe riding your bike across it, by all means, but we recommend that you walk your bike across because it's narrow and you have maybe other people coming the other direction, but you're free to use it as safely as you want.
Is that 5 feet wide for the entire 4-year construction phase?
5 foot minimum, and we had chatted about the potential exists where you make it slightly wider than you will, but
I
5 feet minimum.
I'm a little concerned because it is actually part of, it's right next to the mainline greenway. It's a heavily used bicycle route.
Okay.
There's a lot of cargo bicycles that go past that.
They ride currently through it.
and the carted bicycles usually require a little bit more width, especially, and that,
Oh, I know what you mean, yes.
yeah. So, yeah, that is a concern. I think a lot of people in the community might have.
Well, we can test it out. Yeah. We can take a look at it, we can definitely discuss it. See what, if we can grab a few more inches here or there.
Like average wheel gauge of a car is 6 feet, right? So, and I've seen some pretty wide cargo bikes. I've seen like that wide. The concern is going to be if people are trying to go in the opposite direction.
Yeah, which
What
would
direction is small?
create a conflict. Something came to mind. There were two things said that prompted me to mention this, and I'm going to say this while we have your attention. In the time that I have lived where I have lived, which is over 13 years, we've had little kids, and we've seen the bridge open, the bridge closed. And I think somebody, I can't remember who, started by saying that it's been, I got the sense that you were saying that it's been pretty safe in there. And I just want to say that when the bridge is open, for people who grew up in the 1900s, it's like watching the Dukes of Hazzard when cars come over that bridge. And I'm really not exaggerating. People use South Narberth Avenue to cut through Narberth to South Narberth. They come up over that bridge and they come bombing down. My point is that since we're talking about PennDOT, I'd like to put out there the concern that neighbors have, including myself, that there could be, needs to be, should be some type of stop sign or traffic light at the intersection of Woodside and South Narberth Avenue. I've seen accidents happen. I've seen near misses with children. I've seen people hit by cars. My point is, I think that when this bridge opens up again, people are going to be really excited to use it, and they're going to come bombing over the bridge. And it can be pretty hairy. So I don't know if this can be shared with PennDOT, but I think I'm speaking out of concern for the community. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Somebody just put traffic speed bumps all over Narberth. Maybe you could put some at one of the entrances to the bridge.
So the roadways there are actually locally owned. So it would be a borough responsibility. So we can't do anything while the bridge is being constructed, but that could be something that we can evaluate after the bridge is open. We are working on a traffic calming policy. So this is something that we have the capacity to evaluate after the bridge opens.
Hi, my name is Linnea, and this is Wesley. So I have a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old, and an 8-year-old, and I wanted to speak, sort of ask some questions and follow-up questions, so things that you've said already, and follow up on what Anne had said most recently, and also Anne, I totally hear you on your environmental concerns, especially after what you've been through with the church. So my heart goes out to you. So a couple things. I heard you at one point say there's 8 feet for pedestrians on either side earlier in the presentation. Then we went down to 5 feet, and then we last heard that we'll try to scrape a few inches together. I have lived here when the bridge was open and then after it's been closed, but I want to recognize that it's been closed now for the greater part of a decade. And there are so many families in Narberth who use this bridge as a walking path and a biking path, and they don't know what is about to happen to their neighborhood. Like, they have no clue. Insofar as the traffic is going to increase tenfold, and our sleepy, lovely South Narberth is going to turn into a thoroughfare and cut-throughs. And we know that. That said, if we are using it as a walking space, I can say coming down Haverford Avenue here, just to walk from our house in South Narberth, we don't like walking down this road because cars will speed down this grade at 60, 65, 70, which I find to be incredibly ironic because this is a police station, and I do not feel like any of, like, you had mentioned 25 miles per hour as a speed limit. One, it should be like 15, in my opinion. But 25 is not what people drive. I've lived in 7 states. Pennsylvania may not have the most rush drivers, but I think they have the rudest. And they don't stop for stops. Like, we don't like to walk down there because cars are brushing up against us. So I guess I'm digressing. You said 5 feet, you said 8 feet. I don't want to be walking over that bridge if my kids are going to have cars bombing over them at 40 miles an hour. And it's just, it makes me sad that we kind of prioritize cars over pedestrians and bikes. So what is the actual space that you currently have in your plan for the sidewalks?
We're talking about 2 different numbers. So
Yeah, for the construction and then when it's complete.
Right.
Right.
In construction, it'll be 5 foot minimum.
Okay.
And said they'll look and see where they can if additional space can be provided, but it will be a challenge for them to do that.
Got it.
Then check for me. It's 7 foot 4 3/4 inches, so near 7.5 feet on each side for the finished sidewalks.
Okay.
And that is on the span. Off span, it actually bumps out, gets a little bit wider.
Okay.
Like 9 inches or so.
Okay. And then that's fair. Why did you, like, you had said earlier that you think it's safer to not have a barrier. Why is it safer to not have a barrier between me and my child and the cars that are zooming past? Like, why is not having a barrier safer?
Yeah, without rehashing
Do you have kids?
I do.
Okay.
I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Okay.
So,
Do you think it would be safer for your kids to not have a barrier or have a barrier? Because you can say that, but I'd rather, like, I can't just accept that at face value.
Yeah, I hear your point about the prioritization of vehicular traffic versus pedestrian traffic versus bicycle traffic. It's not something that we typically can set priorities on. We have to consider all potential users. And having that barrier there, I can tell you, just using one corner as an example, there's a very short end treatment that we could use to stop the barrier where we need to stop, and it basically created a ramp for a car to then go up and potentially flip into that space between the 2 barriers.
But it flips, it still could go over into, like,
Sure.
drive up on a curb or.
Bottom line, we ran through a bunch. We had considered a designing section to include a barrier there. At one point in the design, actually, some of you may have seen images that had a barrier there. And through coordination with our PennDOT reviewers, everyone came to agreement that it was ultimately safer for a combination of all users of the roadway to not have that barrier there. And I know that might seem to defy logic.
It seems paradoxical in some ways.
I would just say that it's often paradoxical that the things you do that you think are making something safer actually make it less safe. So often you've seen bridges where you have a small road and suddenly it gets really wide and people just speed across the bridges much faster.
Yeah.
So
I would prefer wider pedestrian spaces and less wide road.
I think the travel lanes are about as narrow as they could possibly be.
Okay. And so then I think, you mentioned that it's the borough then that controls the roadways. Well, I know for a fact that the borough has tried many times to get a stop sign, for example, if you go down the south side, which again has an incredibly steep grade, first you hit Woodside, then you hit Chestnut. And I saw last week a big accident on the corner of Chestnut and South Narberth. And this is, again, pre-bridge reopening. And when moms have fought many times to get stop signs along there through the borough, what we're told is that it's the state and their civil engineers who look into this, and that it respectfully doesn't qualify for a stop sign, which to me seems like a joke, because like when someone tells me there's civil engineers who look into it, it's like they don't live in the neighborhood, because once you live somewhere you get a sense of the flow and where there's near misses and where there are accidents. So I'm hearing different things, that it's the state and then it's the borough. So like I would love it if there was like really good communication regarding the traffic flow with neighborhood input, if that loops in the state and the borough, but instead of just always kind of passing the buck back and forth. That makes sense. Because, okay, last thing I'll say about that road, so South Narberth, if you notice, it's a parabola. If you follow South Narberth from the bridge to Bowman, it's parabolic, which means you could say there's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, which people don't abide, but there's also no laws against acceleration. So you're accelerating down the parabola and back up. And that road, South Narberth, is also the main road that kids use to bike and walk to Marion Elementary, which is the elementary school back there. So I would purport that given that and the fact that we're opening up South Narberth as a highway, that we should be putting a stop sign at every block, because cars do, like you said, paradoxically, sometimes things that seem more safe. If you put 2 stop signs up, they're gonna accelerate between the 2 stop signs. But as it is now, like if that bridge reopens with like a smoother road, people excited to use it, I just feel really bad for the residents of South Narberth, because it's gonna be a highway with a huge rate. I don't know how we can work all together so there are stop signs, or like you said, speed bumps. I haven't heard much about kids' safety with regards to your presentation.
Again, going back to stop signs.
Any sort of evaluation for stop signs or speed bumps will be evaluated after the bridge opens.
Okay.
And any concerns that you have now, we do have the Public Health and Safety Committee, and like I said, we're working on a traffic calming policy where these sorts of concerns can be evaluated.
But hopefully it will work this time, because I know there's been generations of moms that have failed to get those stop signs.
Or bike lanes considered for the bridge? Or is it wide enough to add them later?
Looking at the cross section again, adding width to the bridge would have required, starting with at both ends, there's not really anything to tie into. You have sidewalks and buildings on the north side.
That might give you the buffer that she's looking for. Something to think about. It wasn't even considered though, just because of the ends.
Not that it was considered, there's not width to incorporate, I think, a standard bike lane as part of the roadway. You do a shared series, but it's all Narberth for a roadway, right? So that's really discretion.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, any other comments or questions from members of the audience in person here?
I might have missed this, but so correct me if I'm wrong. So the sidewalks on both sides will be 7.5 feet wide, right? And then at the ends of the bridge, then they'll actually widen before going down the hill, on either side, on either end.
Correct.
Okay.
If you pull up the page menu, you'll be able to see it. Those decorative pier lights step out a little bit. Might be able to see them here.
The lights?
Do you still have the architectural design cover? Dan mentioned in his portion, there's those pier lights at the 4 corners.
Okay.
At those locations, it should be like third to last slide. Yeah, you can actually really see it here. Let me stand at the point real fast.
That's where the lights are. Oh, okay.
It steps out.
It does actually widen a little. Okay, I can see that. Okay, because I was going to ask, because before the bridge was closed in 2019, it actually felt like at the ends the sidewalk was narrowing more than widening, and that was a real problem. They had to have handrails there, if I remember right, and so in this case, then it doesn't sound like there will really be a need for handrails, or will there still be handrails also? Just at the ends.
There will be on the
on the north end, I heard, right?
So, no, it should be the south side. That was just because of the grade leading up coming to the bridge at that point. We wanted to provide a support.
On the south end, okay, all right. Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Okay, last thing, thank you for listening. I've heard you say, with all due respect, that you're going to evaluate the traffic flow after the bridge. I really think it has to be done now. When people start using the bridge, they're just gonna use it. I'm a teacher, and I believe to run a classroom well, this is the classroom right here, you have to have plans in place. I think to put stop signs or speed bumps or a light in after the fact, it's going to be harder to roll it back. I really urge you to consider that before the bridge opens up. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else in person? All right, so we'll move to online if there's, I'm not thinking here online. So if anybody is online and would like to ask a question, please feel free to raise your hand and I'll ask you to unmute. All right, again, just going to ask again, if there's anybody online who would like to make a comment or question, please raise your hand. And I'm not seeing anybody is raising their hand. So we'll go ahead and close up our Q&A.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So just wanted to thank everybody for coming out this evening and sharing your Tuesday night with us. I hope this was informative. This will be posted on the website for tomorrow. Any other questions, please feel free to reach out. And again, thank you so much to our consultants for coming and giving a presentation. Have a great night.
Thank you.